Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I've been having I wanted to talk about a lot of the calls that I've had regarding avoidance coming back. I've had quite a couple cases where the avoidant individual comes back, and, I'm kind of closing out that case because things are working out and they've built much more better strategies. And so I'm happy to report that that's happening. But the reality is obviously we don't want it to be where the relationship leaves and then they come back. But most of the time when people are calling me, it's because there's a lot of issues going on. And so I don't want you guys to think that every single avoidant has to leave to commit. I have more severe cases because that's who's calling to ask for help. And so I do want you guys to keep that in mind. But I've noticed a very specific combination that makes avoidance come back. It's almost all the time. Now, if you don't have this combination, it doesn't mean that they're not going to come back because you can have one or the other. And I also want you to know this is not, a one size fits all. This fits for both male and female avoidant. But let's talk about these two aspects. And then I'm going to talk about what it looks like or what you can do to introduce these things in the relationship, in the dynamic. The first one is that it's somebody who tried their best to save the relationship. That will be you. Now, the reason why this is typically you is because you're likely the least avoidant or not avoidant. And so you're trying to resolve the relationship. So that's your side of it. You tried your best. You communicated clearly. You didn't play any games. Or if you did, you still tried to manage these things and tried to show up as the best version of yourself. So that is your side, okay? Their side is that the relationship broke up or they deactivated or something along those lines because they either deactivated or was in refusal to do something or see something that you kept mentioning. I'm going to give an example that has been showing up a little bit more recently so I can explain it. Let's say you're not even talking about their attachment issues. You're talking about like their addiction or use issues. I've had some calls where that's what it is, right? She or he is like using substances and you're worried about that. And maybe they are in therapy and that they're not telling their therapist certain things and you're kind of worried about that and you're thinking maybe they need medication, etc. And I have no problem discussing those things briefly in our calls as well, how to navigate that conversation because it's a very important conversation. But sometimes what happens is they're refusing to do so and you're thinking, okay, I don't know if this is healthy. I don't know if I can do this. And so you might leave because of that. They might leave because of that. And so if you have these two combinations, typically the relationship did not end because of the lack of love on either side. And interesting enough, love is a huge motivation for avoidance to come back. In fact, it's one of the most common reasons they come back. And so when they come back, normally, if these issues are not resolved to some extent regarding communication, what happens is they might either cycle. And so what you can do, and if you're still with them, you can do some of these things to help the relationship to either return back or it doesn't have to be where they leave and come back at all. So I want to talk about these things. The first one is you want to communicate your needs clearly, concisely, not in such a way where it's blunt or harsh. Now, a lot of you guys, when we have calls or when you do an email service with me, I give you prompts on what to say. You can modify it, but I give you very specific prompts. In fact, I have a case recently that mentioned that it's okay if I share this particular case, and this was written and released. And I'm still not going to share too much, but this particular case, what happened was they're older, like much, much older. And back then, there wasn't a lot of attachment strategies, etc. They didn't really know. In fact, a lot of this research wasn't even done fully. And so they've been together off and on for, I'm going to say above 20 years. I still don't want to give the exact, okay? And what happened was they have been not together for 1 year. I mean, it's almost like he dropped off the face of the earth, okay? And we discussed what I'm not trying to give anyone hope. Okay. I'm not trying to give anyone hope, but this is what happened. And the reason why she wanted this to be shared is because she wants other people to understand. They're a lot older. He's a very severe case. Okay. But what we did was, we wrote together we did an email to him, a very specific email. Okay. That kind of was concise. And then what we did was sent the email. Okay. So sorry, I have to fix that a little bit because this is a common thing. And so you guys might think I'm talking about your case. I'm not. If you're not the one who didn't sign the documents to share this, I'm not talking about your case. This just happens a lot. Um, we talked about, this is a common strategy I use. Text him, right? Mention I'm sending you an email. Let me know if I'm just letting you know, whatever it is. Sent the email, okay? Waited 1 week and then prompted a small prompt. I'm not going to give you the specific prompt because it's specific for their relationship. And in one day, after 1 year of them completely not talking, in 1 day, he prompted and said, yeah, we can have a phone call. And they had a phone call and they got back together. Okay. And so I'm not trying to give you guys like the best hope ever, but I am saying when you communicate clearly and concisely and specifically, you will be surprised at how much wonders this can do. It's very amazing. And I like seeing these things. They're doing better now from what I've seen. I don't see this case often anymore because they don't need me anymore. But I just wanted to share that because, she's happy and she wanted to share that. So the next one is, you did try to accommodate their needs, or you try to accommodate their needs. This is different from you bending over backwards and having no needs. Don't do that. I'm not saying to do that. I'm saying accommodate and adjust and compromise because you are a kind and loving person and that's what you do. You compromise. Maybe they need space. Okay, you're okay with giving them some space, not the whole world, right? Sometimes you got to remember, some people are thinking, just like my case we were just talking about, wait 1 year and then do it. If I had gotten that case previously, before that 1 year, I would not have told her to wait 1 year. We would have done the same strategy even at 3 months, even 1 month, depending on the case. But, she was afraid. She's thinking, I'm too afraid to step on his toes. You could have done this. I promise you that probably would have worked even 3 months in. But whatever the case is, this is very important to keep in mind. We don't want you to over accommodate, but accommodating needs is important, managing certain things. The next one is compromise. And sometimes this is tricky because if you compromise, even sometimes it might be better if they also compromise. Even if you compromise a little bit, this is beneficial because it teaches them some form of compromise. The next one is you don't play games to get your way. This one is the most important one because avoidants are incredibly attracted to people who don't play games. And that motivates them to come back or to not leave. Really important. But even if they do leave, you want this to be set in stone because then it's easier when you prompt them or if they just come back. Because you don't always have to prompt them. The case I was just discussing was about a prompt, but it doesn't always have to be. They will come back because they remember this about you, okay? So you don't play games. The next one is you're genuine and you're not vindictive after the breakup. If you do have a breakup, you're not vindictive about it. You are understanding, you're appreciative, and you're able to reflect. The next one is you apologize for the mistakes that you've made. Now, don't apologize for everything. Some of you guys say, I'm sorry for everything, right? And I get that if you are a person who used to be avoidant and you want to over apologize, I'm sorry, because you used to not say sorry. That's like me. I do that. Still, in general, anxious people, what they do is when they say I'm sorry, they're not saying it because they're like, oh, I know I'm not a person who naturally says sorry. They actually are like literally sorry. Don't be sorry for something you didn't do. Be sorry for the mistake you made and then move on. Very brief. And I'm going to also call out male anxious preoccupied in this particular case. You guys over apologize and then you ruminate. Don't ruminate the mistake you made. I'm sorry, and that's it, okay? And the next one is when you parted ways, you were genuine rather than angry. And so usually this is a case, if you see this profile of yourself or the relationship, often this means they're going to come back. And if you're putting these strategies into the relationship, they might not even leave. You communicate clearly, you accommodate their needs, you compromise, you don't play games, you're genuine, and you're not vindictive after an argument or a breakup. You apologize when you make mistakes, concise, remember concise. And if you do part ways, you're genuine rather than angry. I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.